All right, as promised, here is our Director of Scouting, Craig Button, looking incredible in a jacket-shirt combo that I think everybody's going to be copying around the country. You're so put together today, my friend.
Well, I really appreciate it, and just through this segment, I'm just going to look at myself with this beautiful jacket and tie combo.
Look
just
at
like
that.
This. Just going to look at myself in the camera.
Look at this guy. Incredible stuff. Hey, you said on Monday on the TSN Hockey Preview Show you thought Edmonton would win the Stanley Cup. I want to pull up the full bracket that you had from that show. And you have the defending champion Florida Panthers losing in the first round.
Oh, really? I do a bracket one day, and the next day we're already breaking it down?
Yes, Craig.
Is this what we're going to be doing now? So now Boston's no good, and like a team that wins is like going to win the cup. And,
that's right. First day of the season tells you everything you need to know, Craig. Everything you need to know. So
see, there's no, what you're really telling me, there's no hiding from the Buttonology.
No, absolutely.
Okay,
and let's say that Florida does lose in the first round this year. Like, what's the biggest obstacle in Florida's way in terms of repeating as Stanley Cup champions?
Two obstacles, in my view. And I think the first one of them is obvious. I'm not going to say it's the first one, but it's the obvious one. They've been to the Stanley Cup final for 2 consecutive years. It's hard. You don't get enough rest in the summer. You're trying to recuperate and everything. You've climbed the mountaintop. And I think after you've won a Stanley Cup, you know exactly what it takes to win the Stanley Cup. That's what I think makes it so difficult to repeat. So that's an obvious reason. The second reason is I don't think their blue line's as good as it was last year. And they were a very good defensive team. Bobrovsky plays very well. To me, does that mean that their blue line will remain the same throughout the year? You know, Bill Zito's shown a real penchant for being bold and making moves that really add to the team and strengthen the team. But right now, the way the blue line is, I think it's not as strong and as good as last year's blue line. And I think to win in the Stanley Cup playoffs and to ultimately win the Stanley Cup, the blue line's got to be incredibly balanced and strong from 1 all the way through 6.
Now, here's the good news if you're a Florida fan, because it's not all doom and gloom, folks. You won the game on Wednesday night or on Tuesday night. I can't get my days right. And Carter Verhaeghe, right after the game, Carter Verhaeghe agrees to an 8-year deal, $7 million on the AAV. And this is such a great story. 3rd-round pick back in 2013. Has now won 2 cups, basically a point-a-game player the last 2 seasons. And now he's rewarded with an 8-year deal. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, fully deserving. Carter Verhaeghe's a very good player. You know, you look back, and certainly, you know, you can look back at the history where he was drafted by the Toronto Maple Leafs. He was in Tampa Bay. They let him go. And certainly, you watch a player kind of find his way. The team benefits from them intersecting with him being ready to deliver and then being able to get the benefits of that. Carter's been excellent in Florida. And I look at a player that can skate, that can think, that can make plays. He can play in so many different situations for your team. Quite frankly, I think it's a fantastic contract for the Florida Panthers and certainly most deserving for Carter Verhaeghe. But for Toronto Maple Leafs fans that bemoan, oh, geez, how do we let him go? You know, I still hear about letting Marty St. Louis go back in 2000.
Right.
It never goes away.
Right.
It never goes away.
Never does. And, you know, this is just a nice story. Like, he's not a player you expected to get a contract like this when he was drafted, obviously.
Well, and I didn't expect Marty St. Louis to get to the Hall of Fame either.
Obviously you didn't. Obviously you didn't. Okay, let's switch to the Bruins. Joonas Korpisalo, tough start for the Bruins, 6 goals allowed in the season opener. Jeremy Swayman just signed that 8-year, $66 million contract extension. If you're Louis Gross, his agent at home right now, are you thinking, geez, we should have held out for a couple of weeks. We should have held out for a couple of weeks into the season. This could have been an even bigger deal.
So if that was the case, then maybe Louis Gross could come out and say, I could think of 80 million reasons why Cam Neely should have signed with that. And
right.
Cam Neely might be saying, geez, good thing we got him signed, right?
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that we know how good Jeremy Swayman is. But the bigger issue for the Boston Bruins, and this is a big issue for the Boston Bruins, they are not a good defensive team. Mm-hmm. They are not a good defensive. Their goaltending last year with Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman bailed them out. Just watch where all these goals are scored from. Right in the inner slot. Watch how porous the Boston Bruins defend on these plays inside that area, where half the goals in the National Hockey League are scored. It's not bad. It is awful. And I don't care if you're Jeremy Swayman or Linus Ullmark or you're Dominic Hasek. The bottom line is, if the Boston Bruins are going to defend like that, they're not going to have success. And a team that, you know, you looked at in previous years that was good defensively, last year they weren't. Their goaltending bailed them out. And, you know, Korpisalo, you can look at it and go, oh boy, and, you know, obviously Jeremy Swayman, I felt that I think people felt that there ultimately would be a deal, and it is done. The Boston Bruins are porous defensively. Right now, if they don't clean that up, they're going to be looking to their goaltender to clean up all their mistakes, to be their literal saving grace.
I wonder if Zdeno would come out of retirement. All right, never mind.
But but Zdeno, well, but, you know, could Bobby Orr go out there and play, right? Like, you know, could Brad Park go out and play? Like, you know, could Ray Bork go out and play?
Why not?
If you're going to play defense like the way the Boston Bruins do, doesn't matter who you have out there, chasing around, abandoning the front of the net, and giving your goaltender like those clean looks, your opponent clean looks, and your goaltender staring down those great opportunities. Bottom line is Boston Bruins have to clean that up.
Okay, good news is they do have Swayman signed. The New York Rangers, you might be a little concerned because of some of the reports about Igor Shesterkin that came out on Tuesday. I'm going to talk to Craig about those Shesterkin reports a little later on the show.